I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
UK's Prime Minister Liz Truss has resigned after only 6 weeks in office, which breaks a record, so congratulations. Her free market economic plan, which included tax cuts, severely hurt the economy, and that led to the reversal of key components of her economic plan, and then just a complete reversal eventually. And eventually she realized, I just can't fulfill the mandate that I was elected to fulfill. And she explains more in the next clip.
I came into office at a time of great economic and international instability. Families and businesses were worried about how to pay their bills. Putin's illegal war in Ukraine threatens the security of our whole continent. And our country has been held back for too long by low economic growth. I was elected by the Conservative Party with a mandate to change this. We delivered on energy bills and on cutting national insurance. And we set out a vision for a low-tax, high-growth economy that would take advantage of the freedoms of Brexit. I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
Now, as I mentioned, she has served the shortest stint as prime minister before stepping down, only 6 weeks. Truss announced her decision to leave just 45 days into her tenure. George Canning previously held the record for the shortest term in Downing Street, having served for 119 days back in 1827. Just a bit of trivia worth knowing. Now, just yesterday, Truss refused to resign after the calls to do so had increased considerably. Let's watch.
Today, Truss faced a chorus of jeers and boos as she entered the House of Commons. She apologized for her botched economic plan. It rattled the markets and sent the pound into a tailspin, but Truss insists she's not stepping down.
Mr. Speaker, I am a fighter and not a quitter. I have made mistakes, but the right thing to do in those circumstances is to make changes, which I've made, and to get on with the job and deliver for the British people.
Now, I want to emphasize again, this has to do with the fallout following her economic policies. The announcement brings to an end a catastrophic tenure in Downing Street, which appeared doomed ever since Truss's flagship economic agenda sent markets into panic and led to a fall in the value of the pound. One more thing I think is worth mentioning, she had her sights set on austerity toward the nation's, or the UK's healthcare system, which is a single-payer healthcare system. It's incredibly popular with voters, with people in the UK. In fact, even Boris Johnson understood that and declared that he would not cut the healthcare program in the UK, and that helped him get elected. But as we all know, while he was just completely overwhelmed with scandals and controversies of his own, he had stepped down as prime minister just last year. So I've got a lot more to get to on this story, but Cenk, I want to know what you think.
Yes, so one of our members, Bohemian Dragon Tiger Lily 48, reminded me to say this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Down goes Truss. Down goes Truss. Okay, is that a thing we're supposed to get excited about? I don't know. She's a conservative, so I guess God bless that she's gone down. She had a plan to lower taxes for the rich and cut healthcare for the people of the UK, so God bless that she went down. Very happy about that. Got more substantive comments about that because there's a twist in who brought her down that's very interesting, okay?
Yes.
We'll get to that in a second, but first, more goofy comments. Can't get enough of the English accent, I know. But it's a bit of a controversy in the garage. And the parliament is the greatest thing in the world. Right?
I know, it's kind of fantastic.
Yeah, the only thing that's missing is a thrown shoe.
Don't throw shoes.
Don't throw shoes. Okay, but we love it overall. I think it's super healthy for their democracy that they got rid of her in 45 to 46 days. I want to come back to that as well. But I like her thing of, no, yesterday, I will never surrender. Okay?
I'm a fighter.
A fighter, okay. We shall fight on the hills. We shall fight in the beaches. And then today she said, wait a minute. This beach is rather lovely. I think I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay on the beach, not fighting anymore. So that's nothing but fun. But really interesting reasons why she went down.
Yes.
So back to Hannah.
Yes. Oh, so I'll get to the substance and we'll go back to Cenk and his accent in just a moment. So, you mentioned that this is good for their democracy, and I agree to some extent, but it's also important to be realistic about what this means. There are some pretty undemocratic components to the UK's electoral system that you should know about. So for instance, since she's a member of the Conservative Party, the Conservative Party gets to decide who replaces her. They don't have like some general election where the people get to decide who her replacement will be. And that has certainly frustrated many in the UK, including the head of the Labour Party, who is, by all intents and purposes, a neoliberal. So there's also the same issue here in the United States where we're constantly confronted with a false choice. Either incredibly incompetent, terrible, austerity-obsessed conservatives or austerity-obsessed neoliberals. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they're dealing with a similar situation. With that said though, Keir Starmer, who is of course the head of the Labour Party, says, Britain can't afford the Tories' chaos. My Labour government will provide the stability and leadership needed for our economy, for growth, for working people. General election now. So he's calling for a general election, and I agree with that. But again, it's important to take a good hard look at where the Labour Party currently is, the leadership of the Labour Party, and just really understand that this is not some pro-worker, genuine Labour Party. In fact, once they have a candidate who is actually pretty fantastic and would look out for workers and wouldn't push for austerity, the Labour Party will crush him. That has happened in recent history.
Indeed. Look, she made a mistake here. And it wasn't just her package. Her package was awful and no one liked it, but there's two interesting bedfellows that came together to drive her out. But she should not have apologized. Why?
Why?
Because it confirms everything that people were saying. If I was her, just politically speaking, not on policy.
Why are you helping her out?
No, it doesn't matter, she's gone.
Yeah,
okay, so apparently in Liz, we don't trust. I'm here all week, she's gone, but I'm here all week. Okay, so anyways, but to that point, conservatives, you picked her, right? Tories, you picked her. So if I was her, I would have said, wait, did you not know my plan? I told you my plan and you made me leader. So you can take me down, and if you do, you're basically saying you were wrong, and I'm okay with that, but I'm not changing my mind. This is my plan. Because once you say kill your own plan, which she did a couple of days ago, right? She fired a really good friend who was a finance minister who was executing her plan, put in a finance minister who was 100% opposed to her plan and completely repealed it. Then there's no point in having her there, right? So she undermined herself politically as well as policy-wise. And so I would have just put it back on the party. And that goes to the point that Labor is making, which is, wait a minute, this is your policy. Cut taxes for the rich and cut services for the average person in the UK. The conservatives can't pretend to be surprised.
Right, 100%, 100%. And that is the reason why they chose her. The Tories chose her because of her love for austerity, her love for tax cuts for the wealthy and for corporations. It's very similar to conservatives here in the United States, if you want an easy way to kind of think about it and have a comparison. I don't know whether there is a great path forward right now, because the way the electoral system is set up, the same incompetent conservatives get to choose who replaces her. And these are individuals who tend to be incredibly wealthy. They are not a diverse set of individuals either, mostly white, wealthy individuals. And so constantly replacing resigning conservative prime ministers with others who literally have the same ideas isn't gonna bode well for the people in the UK.
Yes, but there is still a silver lining there. So In Liz they trusted, now in Liz they don't trust. And one of the things guys that might make a comeback is Boris Johnson.
It's insane.
So what are we doing? What is with this crazy merry-go-round, right? Well, look, the silver lining is this. At least they have a system that is somewhat responsive to the facts, to things that are happening on the ground, to popular opinion, etc. Here in America, our politicians are enormously unpopular, and they just sit on their ass for years and years, decades and decades and decades, and no one ever does anything about it. Look at how old all of our politicians are, because we can't ever remove them.
Right.
So the elites in America have found a way to cordon off the politicians from popular opinion completely. That is why we're consistently voting on the two least popular politicians in the country. Biden and Trump right now are the least popular. Earlier, Trump and Hillary Clinton were the least popular, right? But yet, those are our only choices. At least here they're circulating through some options. Now again, it's a fraud because all the Tories agree. So it's just, and by the way, a lot of the neoliberals in labor also agree, right? So whenever there's an actual challenge to the system, and it could be as odious and incorrect as the challenge that Trump did, or correct like Bernie Sanders, or somewhere in the middle with like Jeremy Corbyn, right? Immediately, establishment media, both in the UK and US, and establishment politicians, both on the so-called left and right, attack. There's a virus. There's an outsider. They will not do as they're told. Now we finally get to the strange bedfellows. In this case, she's driven out by popular opinion to some degree, to a decent sized degree, right? But she was also driven out by the bond markets. So it's a popular and completely elitist revolution at the same time. And the bond markets, and this is what's really interesting, were concerned that her plan would add too much to UK's crushing deficit. But remember, it's adding it by giving more tax cuts to the rich.
Yes.
And a giant loophole to oil companies. So for the first time in my memory, and I've been around a while, that is the markets, capitalist markets saying, no, you're giving too much to the rich. This will ruin your country. I've never seen that before.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah. So, and it's like that oil loophole. She's like, I'm trying to save prices on gas. No, the international gas prices, both here, UK, everywhere, is set by international markets. She was just giving a giant handout to incredibly profitable corporations, and the markets didn't like that. Never seen it before. So that was really interesting. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.